Hello. Ah, there we go. Boom. And we're live. All right. Let me just make some adjustments here on OBS. How's everybody doing? How are we feeling? Woo, birds. We got birds. Looks like we got a lot. We got a lot of attention on the birds. Just excellence. We've got some pre-stream participation in the poll, which I really appreciate. For everybody here watching at the moment, how are our audio levels? Can you hear my voice okay? Can you hear the music okay? These things are what matter the most. So, I guess on that note, we should just go ahead and get started, shall we? So as we can see in my Notion page here, I'm feeling something more lighthearted, goofy, and dare I say, whimsical even. And that is because I have been running a lot of more grimdark, kind of intense horror fantasy adventures and one-shots and dungeons lately, which is great. That was kind of my bread and butter for a long time, but it's starting to feel a little bit samey for me, and I'm just in the mood to do something different. I ran a one-shot for some friends last weekend, and we took it a lot less seriously, I would say, in a good way. We kind of cut loose, let go, and, you know, the goofs and gaffs were really refreshing. And so, you know, I've been thinking about how we're going to handle the dungeon this time, and I'm just in the mood to try something a little bit different, a little fun, goofy, silly, you know? So that's why I threw some things up in the chat. There's the poll. And it looks like Burbs is winning quite substantially. And embarrassingly, I've lost my chat window. So you guys are going to get a peek behind the screen. Audio is okay, but you can turn it up a bit. Goofy is copyrighted. Both of those things are true. Let me turn up there we go. So, looking at the poll here, it seems Burbs wins. So, we're 5 minutes into the stream. I'll say it's up to you guys. Do we want to give it a minute? Do we want to give this a minute, or do we want to head right into it and say Burbs wins? I got my chat window up. That's good. Yeah, I got this new mic and I'm being told that I really have to like put my face right up against it, which is something that I'm not used to, but I'm trying to be more professional. Um, Also, just real quick, if you guys want to check out stuff that I've done before, my award-winning dungeon, Rotten Foundations, is available in the pinned comment on DriveThruRPG for the very reasonable price of $1.99 US cents. And we have a stream goal today. So the first blue super chat of the stream gets to name an NPC of this dungeon, whatever they want. Now, of course, if you're watching, all ideas will be embraced and incorporated. But if you lock in a super chat, then it is totally up to you. Hey, Gobi, thank you so much for stopping by. No worries. Gobi is a new friend of the channel. Everybody that's watching, she has an awesome YouTube channel about D&D that really came out of nowhere and really impressed me. She has very good, healthy takes on the state of our community, I would say, as well as a lot of fantastic advice for dungeon masters and players. And we're working on a little something, Gobi and I. I don't think we're quite ready to announce it quite yet to the wide world, but stay tuned for that. And now with Gobi in the chat momentarily, I think we're going to call it, guys. It is a clear victory for the Tropical Canopy Burbs. So I'm going to end the poll. Gobi's going to cry. I hope I'm saying your name right. I think it's like the fish, right? You can cry or not. We talked about this in the past, but crying's cool. We like crying. It's good if it's healthy. So, lighthearted, goofy, dare I say whimsical, Tropical Canopy Burbs. Let's go, birds. Go, birds. That's my fiance, guys. She's trying her best. Yes, like the fish. All right, I'm glad I got it. Does she have burbs, though? Does who have burbs? Gobi? I think Gobi has fish. I think that's kind of her thing. It's a reference to my favorite fish, the night goby. Ah, Nigobi. Yeah, I was always worried. I don't want to say the first part because I kind of got it, the reference, but I was also worried to like completely flub your name. All right. So guys, I was thinking about this. I peeped the poll before we got started, and while I was taking my morning shower, I was thinking about some ideas, as I do. And this dungeon is likely going to be released in February. Now, will I be able to get it out by Valentine's Day? I'm not quite sure. But I do love burbs. And I was thinking, because of the timing and the theme, what if one of our factions were lovebirds? Night Gobi, it's so cute. They sound cute. Oh my God, we've got some fellow fish people in the chat. That's amazing. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but tropical burbs is the theme. So one of our theme is tropical birds. And really, my thought process was this is the kind of launching point for the environment that our dungeon takes place in. So it could be several things, but I was thinking something more like a tropical canopy. Again, just because it's kind of different from what I've been doing more recently, which has been a lot of like stinky dungeons, you know, like literal sewers and stuff like that. So we've got tropical burbs, and I'm thinking like canopy. I'm thinking, you know, bright colors. But I wanted to kind of go over these major factors that we have here, and that is themes, factions, and our three T's. And now our three T's stand for timers, threats, and treats. These tenets come from Index Card RPG, which is a fantastic Bible of tabletop game design, I would say. Um, and the building blocks really for any great encounter. And I like to apply them to my dungeon design. Factions are equally, if not more important. And this is something that in my previous dungeon designs, I feel has gone a bit underutilized. And so for this week's or month's dungeon, I really want to focus on cool, interesting factions. Um, they don't necessarily all have to be like evil or fighting against each other or anything like that, but I think at least three factions is what we want to go for here. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, and I'm loving the fish folk talking here, which is interesting that we didn't choose fish, but I digress. We'll get to that eventually. So we want three factions. And by the way, these are the three main things that I think of that I want to kind of get out on paper before I start to actually write out rooms and start sketching out the dungeon. Because for me, the way my brain works, I'm not a very like visual person. I struggle with designing spaces at first. So getting these kind of like flavorful themes and factions and stuff going really helps me start to think about like, okay, now how do we populate these rooms and start sketching it out? Hey, Drift Speed, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the chat. Archaeology faction, searching for something. Perfect. Kind of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark situation. We'll put that down. I love it. I feel the archaeologists, maybe they have good intentions. Maybe they don't, you know, they're looking for something. And maybe they're spooking the other factions. Now, for Burbs, I was thinking perhaps there's like a lovebird situation going on here. I think lovebirds are really funny. They have funny personalities. And of course, it's kind of cute to think that they have their little partners. And because this dungeon will be coming out in February, you know, I thought a little lovebird theme could be funny. I need to stop spelling birds like birds. And so we've got archaeology, or archaeologists, I guess I should say. Lovebirds. Oh, I'm gonna put a question mark on this. We don't have to commit to that right off the bat. And now, the one faction that I'm going to claim ownership of and say is a non-negotiable is monkeys. And that's because I love monkey. And I was talking about Donkey Kong Country last night with my friends, and it really made me want, I should say, to put monkeys in my dungeon. I live in Tokyo, Japan, if anyone is not aware, and they just recently opened a Donkey Kong Country section to the Nintendo theme park in Osaka, and I'm very excited about that. I'm gonna go meet my my hero, Donkey Kong, because he lives in Osaka, Japan. So, we got archaeologists, we got birds of some variety, perhaps lovebirds, and monkeys. What about some other birds? What about some potential other birds? We got lovebirds. I mean, I guess just lovebirds are parrots, but generic parrots. Toucans. Toucans are fun. Toucan beaks kind of look like bananas. And monkeys want banana. Perhaps there's something there. There's a link between birds and dinosaurs that we can play with. Ooh, interesting. I'm gonna put that under archaeologists because maybe, there's a link there why the archaeologists are here. A link between dinosaurs and birds. Also, I think dinosaurs could be a fantastic threat. So, to kind of explain timers, threats, and treats a bit more, um, basically, it is proposed in Index Card RPG that that any great encounter in D&D or any tabletop role-playing game involves timers, threats, and treats. And so timers keeps the game moving, keeps your players moving. It's like any James Bond movie that's ever existed, really any blockbuster action movie that's ever existed. The heroes need to do X before Y happens, right? Luke needs to blow up the Death Star before the Death Star blows up planets. In the Dark Knight, the people on the boats, they have to disable the bomb before the Joker blows up the other boat. You got to disable the bomb, those kinds of things. And I find in my games that timers are extremely effective and fun. Threats is perhaps the most obvious one. So threats can be, enemies, monsters, factions, etc. can all fall under threats. Then we've obviously got like traps, or other sorts of what is the word? Barriers or obstacles. And then treats is basically rewards for the players for overcoming the timers and the threats. The most obvious one is treasure, magic items. But NPCs can be treats. Funny NPCs who are fun to interact with. NPCs that give the players advice or maps, stuff like that. Can all work as treats. So I think dinosaurs could be a really cool thing to put under threats. Perhaps there's like a dormant dinosaur, or I don't know. I think a surprise dinosaur would be really fun. Let's see, drift speed. Bird faction hires archaeologists to find historical ancestor dinosaur thing, but overeager archaeologist runs away from him into danger to find the artifact himself. Party can save him and choose side. There you go. That's already a fantastic idea. Ostriches are scary, definitely. Shoebill. Beak can be clacked together to make a noise similar to machine gun. Gobi loves the surprise dinosaur. Funny archaeologist guy stuck in a trap above. I like that. See? Drift speed. What size? That's a good question, Gobi. Flying, not. I think Gobi likes dinosaurs. What size? Are we talking big dinosaur? Big dino? Small dino? Baby dino? Maybe a dino egg? Maybe the archaeologists are looking for a dino egg? Exotic plants, also fun. Definitely. That definitely works in the threat category, I think. As well as treats, perhaps. Maybe like fruits or things that can be eaten for healing. Now the ideas are flowing in. I wanted to put where traps. I really like the idea of an archaeologist. Oh my god, guys, I cannot spell. Archaeologist stuck in a trap. I think that's hilarious. I'm also thinking like Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries. He's kind of like waist deep into quicksand. Let's see. Oh, Heroes in Homebrew. What's up, man? Petrodactyls. Guys, everyone say hello to Heroes in Homebrew. If you haven't already, go subscribe to his channel, especially if you're into old school D&D and old school gaming in general. He is a prolific poster, and he posts a ton of great stuff, mostly about homebrew, go figure. But Heroes in Homebrew is like an OG Paladin Pros community member. He's been with me from the very beginning, and it's very nice to have you here, man. Petrodactyls, velociraptors that you can tame. Dino Egg and Ancient Stasis Chamber. I like that. Gotta have Strelitzia flowers. Ooh, Birds of Paradise flowers. Yes. Um, oh my god, there's already so many. I almost feel like we need a flower section. All right, I'm just gonna do a flower quick list real quick. Um, Bird of Paradise. I only know the magic card, but that sounds awesome. You missed that the archaeologist faction are lizard folk to link the dino theme. Whoa. That's a great idea. Actually, lizard folk. Are they like lizards in trench coats? Or are they more like a like Alex Jones conspiracy theory lizard people? Bird of Paradise. We got I feel like there was a lot of other flowers in the chat. But let's see. And then we'll also write down some dinosaurs. So geez, Petrodactyl. How did you spell that, man? I don't actually know if that's spelled. We're gonna see. Yeah, dude. Petrodactyls. Raptors. Tameable. Chris Pratt. Hear me out. Megalosaurus. They're like Carnosaurus but cuter. Megalosaurus. I love the amount of zoology that chat is bringing to the table right now. This is fantastic. I'm gonna write like Carnosaurus but cuter and pretend like I understand what that means. Let's see. Or fossils that turn into dinosaurs as a magic item, or a set of fossils that can meld to you for abilities: water breathing, ammonite gills, raptor claw that gives 1d4 unarmed attack, armor plating. My god, there really are so many possibilities here. Let's start putting that under treasure. Megalosaurus are my favorite. Awesome. I don't know, what is my favorite dinosaur? That's a good question. I feel like when I was a kid I was pretty basic. It was like the T-Rex. I think my favorite dinosaur is the guy that's like, I got about tree fitty. I think that's my favorite. All right, let's see. So, set of fossils. Water-breathing ammonite. Water-breathing ammonite gills is a really good idea, but because we're gonna be like up in the tropical canopies, I don't know how relevant that would be, but maybe, you know, maybe there's like a grotto. And the players will need to swim underwater, and that could play into like the timer, because they have to hold their breath. And so if they get these ammonite gills, it will help them hold their breath and swim underwater longer without fear of drowning. I'll throw that up there in a second. Raptor claws, yeah, armor plating, all great ideas. So up here, I'm gonna put possibly water or swimming based challenge, and then gills with a question mark for now. Carnosaurus is like a mini T-Rex. Well, there you go. That's my favorite right there. Carnosaurus. I also have wicked amounts of dino info because I have them in my world as one of my... Oh, as well as my jam dungeon. I freaking love dinos. Yeah. Gobi and I are working on it with some other very exciting creators. We're working on a dungeon jam that we'll be announcing shortly. But that's awesome. I love the passion for the dinos. Hey, what's up, Wasix? I don't know. Sometimes I'm worried to like dox my friends. Streaming, I see, my good sir. Indeed, here I am. Wasix is a good friend of mine from Philadelphia, PA. Everybody, so say hi to Wasix. A member-only jacket with the sleeves ripped off, so you can take them to the gun shop. That's a good idea. Maybe the archaeologist, like a members-only archaeologist jacket. Okay. So, homie, what's up, guys? Oh, BGD, what's up, man? It's been a minute. It's good to see you in the chat as well. We've got a lot of things going on here. All right, so as more people are rolling into the chat, and we've already got a ton of great ideas to work with, what I want to do is kind of review what we've written down so far. And then I think we can all kind of see already, we can start thinking about rooms. What's up, Repo? So we don't have to like commit to the rooms, but what I like to do is once I've got a big list of ideas like this, start to think about how we can apply them to rooms, how we can start populating the dungeon with these ideas. So I tend to write out rooms before, like literally write them out, like the room descriptions, before I draw the dungeon at all. So we're going to go with that process. I'm also just going to take a minute here because we've got a lot of great ideas. I'm going to have a sip of my slime coffee. Okay, Gobi's got to go. She's got to go cut some more wood, building stuff in my office and watching on dinner break. Oh yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for hanging out. You contributed a ton of great ideas. But I'll swing by if you're still going when I'm done. No worries. Probably going to go for another hour and a half or so. Like the stream and help the channel grow. Yes, that is a great point. Thank you so much, BGD, for pointing that out. I would really appreciate if you guys like the stream. Also, share it in any like Discords or channels that you have if you want to help get things going here. Tara went to New York. I'm getting hammered. Hell yeah, dude. Welcome to the stream. It's 10:30 a.m. for me here. So I'm just having a cup of coffee. But I'm glad to have you here, bud. So yeah, we're gonna take a little breather here, and then we're gonna start fleshing out some rooms. And in the meantime, please like the stream, share with your friends. That's awesome. And I'll remind you guys, we do have a dono goal of 1 blue super chat. The first blue super chat will get the opportunity to name an NPC. 80% of those nerds play D&D? Well, heck yeah, dude. Send them on over. That's what we're doing. That's what we do. All right, let me make sure parrots, it's not misspelled. All right. So, let's review, shall we? Our themes: tropical birds in the canopy, a jungle canopy. Share to my Discord. Thank you so much, Gobi. Thank you so much for the positive vibes. Good luck with your woodworking. Don't nail your thumb. Don't hit your thumb with a hammer or anything like that happened in the old cartoons. Starting room could be bird camp, and without their guide, they are staying put. Ask party to find him, and act as trading post safe area. Timer could be here also if the camp disbands. No safe rests. That's an interesting idea. Monospace font on Notion is a bold choice. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. We are bold here. Can you guys see all right? That's actually a good point. I can change the font. But it's like, what do we got? Serif. Serif is so boring. Serif reminds me of high school. It reminds me of writing high school essays. I think that's why I don't like it. And then default, I don't know. Mono is kind of like 90s tech. We need more burps. I agree. Wasik says we're good. We can see. All right. That is true. We got a little off the... Okay, we got parrots, toucans, and then I know Sharon suggested bill beaks, which I think is a great idea. Also, I hope I'm spelling that right. My God. And then also, I'm going to throw in there blue-footed boobies because that's funny. But we also have to keep in mind that we've got 3 factions already. Also, monkey. What's up with the monkeys, guys? We neglected my monkeys. Um, Monkeys like banana, right? We all know that. This is a very well-known feature of monkey. Um, so my monkey brain was actually thinking before the stream started that perhaps banana is involved because monkey want banana. So I'm gonna put that there. Um, but I really do like this thing with the archaeologists, and the archaeologists are actually lizard folk. I think that's hilarious. And they're looking for something, and I think what they're looking for is either like a dino fossil or egg. Um, the birds. So basically, what we're doing now is starting to flesh out the factions' like wants and needs, and that's what's going to give them the motivation to play off of each other. Monkeys guard treasure and worship it, but don't actually know how to use it. Ooh, that is a great idea. They guard and worship the treasure, but they don't really understand it. Or know how to use it. That's a great idea. So the archaeologists want it. The monkeys have it. And then the birds, I feel, are kind of just like caught in the middle, you know? Like the tropical canopy where the dungeon takes place is their home. So I feel like the birds are just caught in the middle. Also, I guess in my mind, I was thinking these birds talk. So are we thinking like anthropomorphic, like Mordecai from Adventure Time kind of birds? Just kind of like indifferent and wants to go home and play video games? Or are we thinking like actual birds? Monkeys are definitely low-key evil. Hey, what's up, Anna? Thanks for joining. I agree. I agree. Chimps are scary, but also Donkey Kong is not evil. He's a hero. Don't talk shit about Donkey Kong. Chill orangutan that gives you map of the dungeon. I like that. Yeah, we gotta have a chill orangutan. Chill orang. Monkeys know the treasure is dangerous and guards it. We can parody the guys from the mummy who guard the tomb. There you go. The treasure is an egg. The birds think it's a bird egg, and lizard thinks it's a dino egg. Yeah. Birds are just caught in the middle. Birds think the egg. Maybe. So, I like that idea. We need we need a way to connect the egg to all the factions. The archaeologist wants it because they think it's a dino egg, and they're actually lizard people. Egg created by love to tie the love theme. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was thinking, man. It's like a lovebird egg. So the birds, and then okay, all right, it's coming together for me. So the monkeys stole the egg because it's shiny or golden. How do you spell monk? Is monkeys just YS? God, I cannot spell. Oh my god. All right, the monkey. This is so embarrassing. Monkey. There we go. The monkeys want the egg because it's glowing, or you know, it's special. It's special in some way. The birds. The birds want the egg back because it's the baby of the last 2 lovebirds in this rainforest. I think. Sorry, I'm gonna get back to the chat in a second. I saw me on your screen. LOL. Yeah, dude, that's how chats work. um, let's see here. And then the archaeologists, they want the egg because they believe it's their way of reawakening their dino kin or something like that. So yeah, and then Chill Orang gives map that he stole from the archaeologists. Yeah. See, it's all coming together, guys. We've been streaming for like a half hour, and we've already got the building blocks of a hilarious dungeon going here. So the archaeologists, who are like this secret cabal of lizard people, come to this tropical rainforest and ascend into the canopies, looking for this egg that they believe, from legend or whatever, is the key to like reawakening their dinosaur ancestors or kin or something like that. And I still think that we should actually bring in like a surprise dinosaur element. Now, the birds live here in this environment, in this tropical canopy. This is their home. The egg is actually the baby of the last two lovebirds in this tropical canopy, and that's why it's so precious to the birds. And it's like glowing with love and friendship, because you know, Valentine's Day, lovey-dovey. But the monkeys find the egg, they steal the egg, and they take it to, you know, wherever. And so, as the party gets here, they interact with all three factions. And yeah, basically they can decide if they want to pit the factions against each other, if they want to try to get them to work together or what have you. Let me catch up with chat for a minute. Yeah, we had a little font debate. Monkey guards the treasure. DK just has a weird fashion sense, except for that I'd give him a thumbs up. Okay. Dude, DK's tie is incredible. Could be Sky Island Ruins. That's not a bad idea. Let's see. I'll put that up in themes real quick. What we're gonna do after I go through chat is we're gonna review. I think we need to talk about the impetus to get players here. So like the preamble, what are the players doing here? Obviously they're looking for the egg. But I think we need to brainstorm a little bit of like lore or an excuse to get the players into the action. And then we'll spend the next hour or so, if you guys are down to stick around and hang with me, and I'll start writing out and fleshing out room descriptions. And then next week, I think on our next stream, we'll continue and see how we're feeling. Anyway, Sky Islands. Monkeys try to eat it, like as a worst case scenario. Yeah. Yeah, maybe monkeys think, maybe they want to eat it. They think it'll give them like special powers or something. Kind of reminds me of the monkeys from Princess Mononoke. Make archaeologist a single character that the lizards hire. Ooh. Archaeologist hired by the lizard folk. That's actually a pretty good idea. We'll see though, because I'm also really into the idea of like this troupe of archaeologists who are all lizard people. The bird should have information that would help the archaeologists. Have info that could help the arts. Not a bad idea. To make an omelet, banana omelet. Yeah. They want to eat it and make a banana omelet. I like that. It sounds kind of gross, but you know, monkeys can be kind of gross. Also, guys, I cannot spell. This is horrible. Um, um, we're just gonna leave it. Also, you're spelling it in the chat for me, so maybe I should just. Oh no, that's wrong too. Omelet. There we go. Wasik saw himself on the screen. Amazing. I would make like parrots and toucans locals, ancient tomb guards, then Shoebill's evil faction of birds that has come here like pirates to steal the egg. That is a good idea. Like some of the birds are nice birds. Some of the birds are mean birds. Billbeaks. Oh yeah, not Billbeaks, Shoebills. So shoebills are like pirates. I do like that idea a lot. That want to steal the egg. All right, that is a great idea. And then like the parrots and toucans are the local homies. And then let's see, the green tide rises. Heck yeah. The mystical omelet of legend. Yeah, dude, the omelet is definitely happening. Surprise dinosaur idea. Thank you. A T-Rex with big cybernetic arms that he controls with a tiny joystick with its little arms. Totally stealing from the Super Dinosaur comics. Yeah, that's hilarious. Let's see. Let's write that down. Cyber T-Rex with cybernetic arms that he controls with tiny joysticks. Completely reasonable suggestion. Will be incorporated. I'd say Ilbises used to guard the egg in a secret floating island temple. A monkey stole it, and someone saw, word got out, and now everyone's looking for it. Oh yeah, for like the lore. Yeah, let me just make like a we'll do it up here real quick. Fresh H2 for the lore. Yes, so I agree that the floating island thing is a cool idea. Let's just write this down and then we can flesh it out. Egg was guarded on ancient floating islands. Monkeys stole it. Someone else saw it. Word got out. Everyone's looking for it. Yeah, what I found too, I've designed enough dungeons at this point that, you know, we don't really need to overdo the intro in the beginning. It's always best to kind of get the players like right into the action. And then you use the NPCs in the dungeon, the environment itself to kind of tell the story. But you do have to give players motivation, you know, they have to have something. So we know that the players need to look for the egg. The players need to get the egg. But I think there needs to be several motivations. But that's something that maybe the players can figure out as they run through the dungeon, because maybe they want to get the egg back so they can give it back to the birds and it can hatch and the lovebirds can have their baby. Or maybe they decide that they want to help the monkeys because they want to help monkeys, you know, become the dominating faction of the jungle. Or they want to help the archaeologists because I feel like, you know, evil lizard archaeologists, like they want to take over the world, I think. Also, real quick, I'm going to put a room thing here so I don't forget this, but I have recently gotten back into playing World of Warcraft. And there is a dungeon in this season that features pirate monkeys that throw bananas on the floor. And it's a mechanic that you have to like dodge. And it's so annoying. And I definitely want to incorporate monkeys throw bananas and you slip on them. Because I've been playing this WoW dungeon that has that mechanic, and I want to steal it for this one. Love it. They believe it makes you immortal, and that's why they don't want to eat it, but make it special. That's a great idea. Monkeys believe in immortality. I feel like monkeys, it's kind of a tropey thing that monkeys tend to be selfish. They're very intelligent, but still dumb. So maybe, they don't understand the power that they hold. They have to eat it when the egg moon is there for it to work, they think. Full moon timer. Boom. That is such a good idea. Drift speed, you are full of brilliant ideas. And I want to clarify. Oh, what's up, Park Shields? I don't even know what I should call you. Obis? I'm going to call you Obis. What's up, man? Thanks for joining. Yeah, full moon timer. What did we say? The egg moon. But real quick, I want to make one thing clear. While these streams are us working together to create these dungeons, and after the stream, what I do is clean them up and turn them into a finished product that will be available for purchase or through my soon-to-be launched Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. However, everyone that contributes ideas to these dungeons will be credited in the final product. So after the stream is done, what I do is go back through the chat and I write down everyone's username. And you guys will get like a little special thanks shout out in the credits. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into actually fleshing out and creating the dungeon post stream. But I just want to make that clear and known to everybody that your ideas are not... The idea here isn't to take advantage of your guys' creativity. It's to be collaborative and excited together and create something dope. And if you contribute ideas, you get credit. All right. I love how 80% of these ideas are so elaborate, and then we have banana omelet and egg moon to make evil monkey lord immortal. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Evil monkey lord immortal. That's why I love D&D. That's why I love doing this stuff, and that's why I wanted to try making a dungeon that's kind of more lighthearted and silly, because it's fun. The dino is a love dino that breaks false love or helps find true love, like Cupid. The real love, the real dinosaur was the love we made along the way. I'll write down love dino. I like that idea. Maybe the dinosaur falls in love. Maybe it's like that trope where the egg hatches, like Togepi from Pokemon, and then Togepi gets attached to the first person it sees, or just that trope about eggs, like something hatches from the egg and then they become attached. So maybe the egg does hatch and there is a dinosaur, a baby dinosaur in the egg, and then they fall in love with whoever is holding it when it hatches, be it a player or an NPC. That's something to think about. What's up, Swords and Stones? Welcome. Sorry, there's a lot going on in the chat, so I'm just catching up here, but welcome. Thanks for joining. Oh, monkeys throwing bananas. Better than throwing what they would usually do. You know what? That's a good point. Where did I put that? Up here. Now we're gonna stick to bananas, but that is a good point. Party are just treasure hunters who heard there's gold in the temple. There it's the egg of legend, but what they find will take them on an emotional adventure of love. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the setup could be something as simple as you guys are treasure hunters. You've heard that there is an ancient idol or treasure, which happens to be the egg. And then as they go through the dungeon and navigate it, they get enraptured in the story of love. Maybe the bananas can have a hidden key to a secret room if you catch the right one. Ooh, that is a good idea. Hidden key in the bananas that unlocks a secret room, which would lead to treats. You can make the monkeys have a scroll that lays out that they need to eat the egg omelet on a full moon. On the ancient scroll, there's literally an egg timer with a full moon on it. Yeah. I think down here we said there's like a chill orang scroll that explains eating egg on full moon egg timer. Some of the monkeys could turn out to actually want to help the party because they think their boss has finally lost a screw and they'd rather protect the egg and the love rather than eat it for one guy. True. To become immortal because the monkey lord lied about everyone becoming immortal and it's actually only him. I do like that idea. Only the monkey lord will become immortal. And some monkeys found out and they are angry. Perhaps I feel like the chill orangutan is like the defector. He's realized the error of his ways and he offers to help the party save the egg. Mini boss monkey with golden bananas loot. Golden banana is key to the other loot and is worth gold. Yes. Monkey mini boss. I really like the idea of like the golden banana key because I am a big, unironically, I'm a big fan of the Donkey Kong Country games and Donkey Kong 64. And that's all about like collecting the golden bananas to get into the next levels and rooms. So I do really like the idea of the golden banana key, which will kind of pay homage to my childhood. Threats, says Totoro. Peacock mages throw charm spells constantly and make the players fall in love with them. Ooh, that's a good idea for threats. Let's see. Charm spells that make victim fall in love. Eat the wrong banana and become monkey minions. We can put that under threats as well. Banana threats. Monkey Mind Banana. Yeah, dude. Monkey Mind Banana. That is a great name for a magic item. Eat the banana. Maybe you have to make a wisdom save or something like that. Make a whiz save. On a failure. Monkey brain. For the, DX rounds. Or hours. Something like that. That's funny. That's a good idea. His name is Chimpanzee. Obis, you sly dog. I love that. Chimpanzee. Let's see. Maybe the egg is hybrid, bird, lizard, made by a wizard, and it will actually give you powers if you eat it, or will hatch and bond with whoever has it. Oops, hour late. Hey, Fable's Founding. What's up, man? No worries at all. We're still gonna, I think we're gonna go for like another hour. And we're just about to the part where I want to review what we've come with already and start coming up with some rooms together. So you're not late. You're right on time, buddy. Maybe the egg is hybrid lizard. Okay, yeah. So I think what we need to do as a gang here, as friends, as homies, we need to decide on the egg. What's the deal with the egg here? So what's the deal with the egg? Oh my god, caps lock. What's the deal with the egg? We gotta lock it in because we have a ton of great ideas. But I think because the egg is so crucial to the dungeon that we'll be more productive and effective moving forward as dungeon designers if we are on the same page about the egg. What? No bananas and pajamas? Having beers, I'm here, bro. Awesome, dude. Thanks. Yeah, come hang out, have some drinks. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning for me, so this is more like a chill morning coffee stream for me. But obviously, everyone enjoy their libations of choice and hang out. Is Egg's mom around? That is a good question. It's a placebo idol. Got to split. No worries, swords and stones. We are having a great time. But thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by and contributing, dude. I really appreciate it. All right. So what's the deal with the egg here? I think I do think that the egg will give powers to whoever consumes it. I think that should be true because that creates a lot of stakes. And if a scenario happens where the monkeys or one of the other birds or one of the archaeologists or even the players does decide to eat it, there will be like a big payoff consequence for that. However, I do also think if it's not eaten in X amount of time, it will hatch. Now, I'm already thinking that we were talking about doing like a more fun, whimsical dungeon, and I can already kind of see the concept of eating like a baby bird is a little morbid. But we can take a more cartoony approach with this, where if you eat the egg, it's an unfertilized egg. And then if it's held under the full moon or whatever we decide is the mechanic, the baby bird or whatever it is hatches. Yeah, birds are the original owner of the egg and are just trying to protect. I agree. Could be it gives more power under full moon with special banana ingredients. Oh, like if you actually make the banana omelet? That is a good point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The egg will give powers to whoever consumes it only if it's used to create a banana omelet. That's actually a great idea because it creates, there's more to it than just get the egg. You know, you also have to get bananas, so it encourages more interaction with the dungeon at large. If it's not eaten X time, it will hatch. And then yeah, the egg belongs to the birds. I really like the idea of it's like a lovebird couple, but they're like these small, cute lovebirds, and they're harmless, and they can't get involved because they're not violent and they're kind of like scared, and I think they would be nice characters to like introduce to the party earlier on. So the egg belongs to a lovebird couple, and maybe they only lay one egg. They can only ever lay one egg, and this is their one egg. And this is it. And that's what makes it so special. And these lovebirds, they're like magical lovebirds. So the egg that they lay has these magical properties because the monkeys live in this rainforest. They're kind of like, the monkeys know this, and they were waiting to snatch it because the evil monkey lord promised to create the banana omelet, and give all monkeys immortality. But as we clarified earlier, thanks to Anna, but this is untrue. Only one person gets the power, but it doesn't even necessarily, but this is untrue. I think I like the idea that the monkey lord believes that if he eats the egg, he will become immortal. He tells the troop of monkeys that everyone will become immortal because he'll share it. But this isn't true. But the egg still has some sort of magical property. The egg was kept in magical stasis. Now it's stolen. There's a timer before it either gets eaten or hatched in bonds. Yeah, exactly. I agree that the major timer, after something happens, which will decide in X amount of time, the egg will hatch. And so then it's a mad race for the factions that want to eat the egg. They have to eat the egg before it hatches. And then that just becomes like this mad dash to get the egg. +1 to a magical stasis in a sky temple, obviously. Yeah, I agree that I like the sky temple as kind of like the boss room or or maybe for the rooms, the sky temple is in the center. I actually think that's a cool idea. The sky temple floats in the middle of the canopy. So what we'll be doing here is creating a circular dungeon that's all connected. And at the end of the day, it becomes a mad dash to get to the Sky Temple. All right. Hey, Outriders hanging out in the chat. A caravan hot plate plinth. Evil. Team Burp. Could be rainbow color bananas, each grow in different area, links up with the rainbow bird colors and dinosaur feathers. Yeah, rainbow bananas. That's also very Donkey Kong 64. Let's see. Lovebird ideas need too. Thank you. Gotta go. No worries. Oh, here's an homebrew. Thanks for, you might have already left. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat for a moment there. But thanks so much for hanging out. Another faction has a leader that rails against immortality by eating the egg. It is an abomination. Yeah. So the other faction would be the archaeologist. And Obis, I don't think you were here for this, but we decided there's like a faction of archaeologists who are actually lizard people. And slash or one of the there's one archaeologist, like a Nigel Thornberry type, who's been hired by the lizard people. I think maybe the lizard people are trying to like dress up and pretend to be archaeologists, and there's really only one true archaeologist. That's funny to me. So I'm gonna write that here. Under archaeologists. The arcs are all lizard people dressed up pretending to be archaeologists. There's only one true archaeologist. We're gonna name him Nigel because, of course, hired by the lizard people, promised untold riches. And I think he's very clumsy, and he gets stuck in a trap. Very clumsy. Stuck in a trap. They think it's immortality, but it's not. It's another power that the other birds do know. Yeah, exactly. I think Yeah, it's like it's got to be like the power of love or something. Um, I mean, we can play around with it. It's gonna be like a mechanically tangible thing, but like we were playing around with this kind of like theme of it being like lovey-dovey or whatever. So it's the power of love. Oh, hey, what's up, humble gallipot? Everything's going well, man. Thanks for stopping by. We're having a good time here. Does the floating temple stay in the canopy for only a certain amount of time, or does it slowly rise as night turns to day? That's also a good question. I feel like the temple maybe has been landed where it is now. It's not always there. Yeah, and that's a good point too, because that is kind of like the impetus that brings the player faction. So the party, right? The players who will actually be playing through this dungeon, they're a faction as well. So the adventuring party is coming here because the temple has landed. The archaeologist lizard people are here because the temple has landed. The birds and the monkeys are already here. The monkeys were waiting for this opportunity, and the birds are the faction that's just caught in the middle. Flying monkey did a temple raid. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or maybe, maybe it could be flight. It could be flight. The power of flight for a monkey or a man is quite desirable, I would say. You can make the temple flying, and then you can finally use that damage example of being hit by a flying fortress from the PNG. Yeah, that is a good point, Anna. The lizard people used to workshop the egg, and then they met the archaeologist, and now worship him and dress him, and he is really annoyed about it. Oh, worship the egg, I think you mean probably. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think we're gonna take another quick breather here because, dude, I mean, look at this, guys. We've got a ton of great ideas here, but now I think what we need to do is start refining them down and start fleshing out some rooms. So I'm just gonna have a sip of water. Everybody, refresh their beverages if you're sticking around. This has been great so far, though. Yeah, start room layout. Exactly. Drift speed. What? Okay. So the other thing that we could do is I do have Dungeon Scrawl up here. And we could start, even though I said we wouldn't, we could start kind of physically laying out the dungeon a bit. But I think for me, because basically, so we've got like the floating temple in the middle, and then the way I'm seeing it is that it's sort of like connected around, like the whole dungeon kind of wraps around the floating temple like this in a way, you know? This is just like a very rough example. Whoops. Something like that. But we gotta have more twists and turns along the way. And then, you know, it would be kind of like this kind of situation. Some rooms would be inaccessible by others, etc. Got here late, but this looks fun, Pally. No worries at all. What's up, Stormblood? Yeah, we're just hanging out, creating a dungeon. Oh, message retract. No worries, man. You don't gotta retract your messages. It's all good. Um, so our theme. So we've got tropical burbs, canopy. basically, let's start refining things here. So it's a tropical rainforest canopy. That is the setting for our dungeon. There is an ancient sky island floating in the middle. Monkeys, lizard people, and birds all want the lovebird egg, which grants a special power. Only when the sky temple has descended. Or I just think the sky temple is like the omen. So that's more of the lore. So the egg was guarded on an ancient floating island. The monkey stole it. Someone else saw it. Word got out. Everyone's looking for it. So I think we can adjust this to the egg is guarded on the ancient floating island by the monkeys who stole it. The lizard folk saw it. Word got out. Now everyone's looking for it. The players want the egg because special treasure. It like initially. We'll just combine these lines together. The players are treasure hunters. They've heard that there's an ancient So the players are treasure hunters, but then as soon as they get in here, they're going to start interacting with all of these factions who kind of explain their own version of the story, and then it's up to the players to decide who they want to believe, and how they want to continue navigating the dungeon. Do another circle of rooms around that one. Since it's outside, it needs to feel bigger. I totally agree. Man-eating plants in one of the rooms outside the temple? Yes. Need to show some love. Need to show love of some kind to open the door to the temple. Ooh, that is a great idea. Where should we put that? We have so many good ideas. I'll put that under the rooms notes for now. Need to show love. Or guys, I know the book ACOTAR, that like that smut fantasy book. Spoilers if you're interested in reading ACOTAR, but a coworker of mine was like showing it to me a while ago, and she read out loud. There's like this penultimate scenario where the main character has to solve this riddle, and it's like, what fricks and makes you bleed but also makes you feel good. It was just so obvious that like the answer was love. So maybe, it's like to get into the temple, the players need to show love. I do really like that idea. And then like maybe the monkeys actually can't get into the temple because they're so stupid and selfish that they can't figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's all about just showing love. So need to show love to get into the temple. But the monkeys are already at the temple protecting it, but they can't get in. Gotta go, my dude. That was bananas. Oh, but I think this is for the birds. Hey, no worries, dude. Good luck with all that. Yeah, plant threats, totally agree. Floor's floor, giant boars, poison something that makes it really not good to jump off platforms. Yeah, absolutely. Like if you jump off the platforms or if you fall down, not good. Jumping off platforms, bad. Man eating plants, poisonous. Like we could do some poisonous frogs, like poison dart frogs. Boars, I agree, are a good monster enemy, etc., etc. Yeah, that riddle was pretty stupid. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is the simplest riddles that still stump even the most seasoned D&D players. Maybe show three kinds of love, like brotherly love, familial love, and true love. There can be a parent couple, there can be the family if the party helps them. That's a good idea. Someone needs to give a big hug. Just don't have them insert the banana key. Hey yo. Hey man, love is love. Um, need to show love. Yeah, for right now, we'll keep playing with it, but is it like different kinds of love? I think that's a great idea, Drift Speed, but also from experience, the more complicated, like I hesitate to use puzzles in my dungeons at all, just because I find them to, no matter how good of an idea it sounds in design process, it almost never works out the way that you want it to. And I just find them to be more frustrating and like roadblocky. So I think playing around with the idea of different kinds of love is a good idea, but I hazard caution of requiring more and more complicated solutions. I almost did a spit take. Banana key must go in sideways, not long ways. Yeah. Where's the banana key? That's hilarious. The Fire Rises puzzle. Oh, Nelson! Nelly-san, what is up, homie? It's so nice to see you here. Dude, Nelson, it's so funny that you say that because I was just Anna, who's in the chat right now, who is in my current D&D campaign, is interested in becoming a dungeon master herself and running some adventures. And we were just talking about dungeon master theory and stuff like that, walking home to the station one night, and I told her about the Fire Rises puzzle debacle. It's so funny that you're here and you brought that up. It's really nice to hear from you, man. Guys, Nelly-san, we went to school together. We went to college together here in Tokyo. Nelly-san was in my first ever D&D campaign. He's a fantastic dungeon master as well as a fantastic player. I miss you a lot, man. It's so nice to see you here. That really made my day. Yeah. So I'll go on a quick tangent real quick, if you guys will permit me. Long story short, we were running Horde of the Dragon Queen as my first ever D&D campaign, which is a 5th edition module. And by this point, it had gotten quite homebrewy. Like, we had added a lot of our own flavor and stuff to it. But there's a dragon cult in the module. And basically the module just involves chasing down this dragon cult. And the dragon cult's phrase was the fire rises, which I just stole from Batman, right? Bane, you know, the fire rises. And anyway, the party gets to this point where there's this like Full Metal Alchemist style blood circle rune thing on the floor, and they need to stand in the middle of it and say the fire rises, and then they'll be teleported into the dragon cult's lair, essentially. That was the setup. And my players took, and I thought it was going to be super obvious because they've heard the dragon cult people say the fire rises like, I don't even know how many times. Dozens and dozens and dozens of times. The players got so stumped. And at this point in the campaign, they had their Boblin the Goblin, you know, they had their goblin NPC who they tied up and dragged them around with them and made them like their this forced retainer. And I'll never forget, one of my players was like, I got it. And she grabbed the goblin and slit the goblin's throat and poured the blood all over the floor and was convinced that this was what was going to like activate the chamber. And I just described them, you know, ruthlessly murdering the goblin, and then nothing happens. And then I believe it was Nelson that, or somebody eventually said the fire rises, and then, you know, the flames rose up and they teleported into the cult lair. And everyone was like, oh my God, that's so obvious. So anyway, that was a tangent, but that's just a great example of why you might think the puzzle is the most simple solution in the world, and it might take your players 2 hours and a couple goblin lives to get it. Anyway, I digress. Has anyone mentioned rolling barrels or wooden sledgehammers? No, but you have now, and of course, that needs to be incorporated. Yeah, Obis, I don't think you were here yet when I said it, but growing up, I loved the Donkey Kong Country games, and Donkey Kong 64 especially. So I do want to have a lot of like Donkey Kong references. Giant rolling boulder, yeah, the mother of all traps, absolutely. Check my earlier comment, please. The adventure needs to move through the trees on ancient monkey trails as the jungle floor is too dangerous. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Um, so I'm thinking like the dungeon is really just this twisted canopy itself. But I totally agree that the jungle floor is too dangerous. So you must stay, you must navigate the trees. However, JP Couvert. JP, thank you so much for stopping by, man. That is amazing. The SNES DK Country, best soundtrack ever. Was that ever a question? Although, as a fellow Dragon Quest fan, I gotta say, the Dragon Quest soundtrack is also pretty goated. But DK Country, yeah, dude, incredible. Rare in the 90s was firing on all cylinders, lightning in a bottle. We'll never get it back. Also, guys, JP Couvert, holy crap, absolute legend. One of my biggest inspirations. It's so nice to have you here, man. Out of Control minecart chase, yes, absolutely. Maybe the temple itself. Ooh, I really like that, Obis, for the floating temple room. That is this wild, out of control minecart chase. That's gonna be so much fun. How does Party get into Canopy? Rescued off the jungle floor by Liz. Ooh, yeah, like see, that's a good point. That's a good point. We'll put that in the lore section here. So maybe like the intro, which could either be played out or just described before the party really gets started, is the party starts on the dungeon floor and it's much too dangerous. The lizard archaeologists help save them and get them up into the canopy, and that's the impetus. Players are in peril on the jungle floor at the beginning of the adventure. Archaeologists save them. Or maybe like that they meet Nigel, you know? And then Nigel is like, "With me, lads." And he helps get them up into the canopy. And then the first room that they get into is the archaeologist camp. Like we were talking about earlier. So guys, we have a ton of sick ideas here, and I think we need to start. We've got about a half hour before I'm gonna have to call it for today. And this has been incredible, by the way. I'm having so much fun, and I hope you guys are too. So what I want to do is start fleshing out some ideas for rooms. Now, like Drift Speed was saying, you're gonna have to forgive me because I'm just using Dungeon Scroll as like a loose, just to give us a loose idea of what the map will look like physically. But I agree that it's gonna have an inner and outer ring like this, and then the very inside of the dungeon is going to be the floating temple. And like the inner and outer rings represents the kind of twisting canopy of these giant, tropical trees. And then it's all kind of interconnected like this. Now, this is already looking crazy, wacky, but I think it's a really strong idea. So the map is going to look something like this. It's all talk about jaquazing the dungeon. It's all going to be very interconnected. And so really what we have to start doing as dungeon designers, as adventure designers, is thinking about the factions, the rooms they populate, what's going on in them, and how they can all be pitted against each other. Now, something else that I wanted to talk about. Excuse me, I need to take a sip of me water. Something else that I wanted to talk about is the fact that we have a ton of great ideas here. But something that I've found as a dungeon designer, as an adventure designer, is there's a sweet spot. I hate to say less is more because that is such a cliche. But I'm going to make a video about this for my channel. But recently I was playtesting a dungeon that was actually the first dungeon that we created together on my live stream last year, the Firebeat dungeon. I'm getting that ready for distribution, and I playtested it with 2 individual groups. And a big lesson that I learned in that playtesting was that there was a lot that I had pre-written or pre-decided that ended up not mattering, because what really matters is how the players choose to interact with the information that they have. And oftentimes, and I would dare to say most of the time, if not all of the time, what the players come up with and what happens organically at your table, that's the true adventure. That's where the true magic lies. So I feel like that was pretty corny. It might be obvious to us as hobbyists and dungeon designers, but I am trying to be conscious of the fact that we have a lot of great stuff here. And I think that means it's time to start really distilling it down, and also keep in mind as we continue to design that we need to let go of so much pre-decision. We need to be able to allow the dungeon to tell its own story as the players navigate it. And as dungeon designers, in the final product, the words on the page should be just enough to give the DM the confidence that they need to run the dungeon their way and interpret it their way. I think that's very important. So let me catch up with the chat here. I tend to let my players roll whiz or int to solve a lot of puzzles, and with success they decide what solved it. Yeah, I think that's Stormblood. That's a great point. Our party took 1 hour to devise the answer to riddle. What goes into a lock? It was key. Yeah, exactly. Or hired by archaeologist Nigel's wife to find him. He was kidnapped by lizards. That could be a potential. I picture Nigel as a turtle with an Indiana Jones hat. Nigel could be a turtle. Nigel can be a turtle guy. A turtle archaeologist. And we already said he's very clumsy. And I feel like turtles kind of fit that vibe. He could even lie about it to make the party turn on lizards and help him find the egg, or just be goofy archaeologist and not deceptive. Exactly. And see, this is the thing too, like in the final product, the final dungeon, we can write things like, it's up to you as the DM to decide. Nigel could try to deceive the players, or he could be a friend or foe, essentially, right? And I think that goes for basically all the factions in this dungeon. It depends on how the players want to navigate it. You right. Thank you, Obis. My lesson from that dungeon, fire solution in 75% of the cases. You're breaking my heart if that was the lesson that you learned from that dungeon. I think we need to go back to class. First room is canopy floor with man-eating plants. First easy fight, and when all chopped down, end of fight. 2 more grow back, and not yes. Thank you. I know, Sharon. We need to get into some rooms here. So what I'm gonna do is under the room section, we're gonna throw up an H3 here, and we're gonna say room 1, and we're just gonna start for the last half hour here, fleshing out some ideas for the rooms. So because the dungeon is cyclical in nature, room 1, we're just using that right now to kind of help keep us organized. But I also really like dungeons that have multiple entrances. MapCrow has an amazing video on Jaquazing the dungeon, and he shows how you can connect the dungeon together and give it multiple different entrances. And I almost feel like this dungeon should have an entrance for each faction. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But I do like this idea. Room 1, or I guess what we'll say, so we'll say room 1, jungle floor. And so the jungle floor is perilous. We'll just say the jungle floor is very dangerous. And it is crawling with flesh-eating plants. What this also allows us to do is roll initiative at the very beginning of the dungeon, which I think is a great way to get things moving. And like I know Sharon said as well, first fight, pretty easy. And I think it should end fairly quickly. I do also really like the idea that when the first batch of enemies are defeated, more show up, but Nigel shows up and helps the players escape. So rather than room 1, I actually think what we're going to do is call this entrance 1, or entrance A even. Jungle floor. Let's see. Somewhere there's a monkey that you have to chase along the trails, and you have to cross a rope bridge. If you don't catch the monkey, he tries to cut the bridge. Fight or talk. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So I'll just say rope bridge encounter. We want this to be an H3. I'm such a clicker. I need to learn all these macros and stuff. You know, Mystic Arts DM had a really great stream where he was showing everyone how he uses Obsidian to design his adventures, and I really want to try to get into Obsidian. Notion isn't the most intuitive thing in the world, but anyway, I do like the idea of rope bridge encounter. Monkey threatens to cut the rope. That's very classic. Got to give him something. Give him banana, etc. Or talk or fight, essentially, right? That's a great idea. Don't put Nigel in front of a rolling boulder. He won't get far. Exactly. How many entrances are we talking? That's a good question, Totoro. I mean, I think we don't have to commit to it right now. I was thinking maybe like at least 1 per faction. but we have a lot to talk about yet. Maybe a hanging torch treat, or Nigel has a torch. I do like the idea that Nigel has a torch because, ooh, this is very Princess Mononoke, but the monkeys wanted fire. The monkeys wanted to steal the fire from the humans. And Nigel has a torch, and the monkeys want the fire. And that could also lead to, obviously, rooms burning or creating threats like that. Anna loves that, I know. And she's still hanging around. Yeah, it seems useful versus plant monster. Exactly. That's actually a great point. Plant monsters are vulnerable to fire. And I would say the birds are probably afraid of fire. And then monkeys want to steal the fire. Steal the fire. Obsidian's pretty nice, and I haven't even done anything complicated with it yet. Yeah, it looks really intuitive. I think maybe for next stream, I'm going to migrate all of this into Obsidian. Nelly. When Nigel takes them above to the trails, if the dungeon is a circle, there could be an element of randomness where he takes them. Dude. That's a great idea. So yeah, like, rather than entrance 1, this is like intro. The jungle floor is the intro. So we explain to our players that they're this group of treasure hunters, and they are on the jungle floor. They are looking for this fallen sky temple, but the canopy is so thick that they can't see above them. Roll initiative. The flesh-eating plants are coming down all around them already. They fight off the flesh-eating plants. Nigel helps them come up, and then from there is a random element to see which entrance they go into. So that's a great idea. I want to write that down before I forget. So our heroes starts off on the jungle floor in search of the ancient floating temple. But the canopy is so thick and verdant that they cannot see above them. We can describe it blots out the sky. It blots out the sky itself. The jungle floor is crawling with flesh-eating plants. Roll initiative. Right. Then from there, as Nigel helps the party escape, there's a random element, or I'm just gonna say there's an element of choice, or what's not random, but there's like an element of chance, of choice or chance to determine which room they enter first. I also really like dungeons that don't necessarily funnel players into the same room at first, because that also gives an element of replayability, especially for the dungeon master. And these dungeons that we're designing, I really want them to have that value for the folks that get them. I'm really passionate about giving a lot of value and having them be really helpful. And even if you don't run them several times, you can, pull out elements and steal them and hack them up and use them however you want. If the monkeys steal the torch, one of them will accidentally drop it, putting an area of fire, and then it becomes inaccessible. So they have to find a different. So see, Anna, that's a great idea, but this is a great example, in the chat here. Anna's idea about the monkey stealing the torch and then dropping it, and then a room or section of the dungeon gets lit on fire. That's a great idea, but I personally feel that's something that shouldn't necessarily be written as, like, shouldn't be coded into the dungeon. I don't think that's necessarily something that we need to write down and tell the DM this will happen. I think that's a great example of something that could happen. And as dungeon designers and adventure writers, we need to have faith in our readers, in our audience, to be able to create and handle these situations as they arise. And if we get too caught up in accounting for this infinite amount of possibilities, I think as a usable product, the dungeon will start to lose its way. So that's not to say that that's not a great idea, and I totally agree with you. But I don't think that's necessarily something that we need to write down in the dungeon itself. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, man, goosebumps on the intro. That's amazing. Thank you. Swing Vine Room. There's a safe route and a more dangerous route that you can swing to for bananas, treasure, etc. Yeah, that's a great idea. So in this room, I think also what Ina Sheeran is coming up with a lot is these like encounters. So we've got the bridge room encounter. I do also like the idea of the rope swing encounter. And these encounters are things that we can add, I think, to kind of like all of this connective tissue in the dungeon. You know what I mean? Some of them will just be tunnels that you can walk through, because you got to give the players a break sometimes. And not all of these rooms and corridors and walkways can be fully fleshed out, but some of them will be rickety rope bridges, swinging, or swing, like, I would say even like vine, like rope vine swing encounter. It's a great idea. Not scripted, just something for the DM to have in his back pocket. Yeah, exactly. And I think that that can come through, like, basically in the beginning of the dungeon, we'll have a faction section, and we explain we briefly, in a short, small paragraph, explain the motivations, the wants and needs of each faction. And so we know that the monkeys want fire, they want bananas, they want the egg. The monkeys are very greedy, right? And so we can suggest in that intro that the monkeys are likely to steal things from the players, right? Which could be the torch, which could be bananas, which could be weapons, etc. So that is a great point, Stormblood. And I think we're going to write that down in the factions for the monkeys. The first thing I write here is banana. The monkeys are very greedy. And they will try to steal whatever they deem of value from the players and other NPC factions. This could be anything from a burning torch to a water skin, or even swords and shields. Exactly, Anna. Anything shiny. So this is actually, I think this is like a great lesson, right? It's that when we have ideas like that, rather than hard coding them in, we can use that to inform the text and kind of allow the dungeon master that's running this dungeon to run with it in their own way. No pun intended. I just saw like a monkey. I just imagined like a little monkey like like running away with like a giant great sword like over his head. And everyone's like, Timmy, no. Um, so yeah, that's a great point. And I think for everyone watching, either the VOD or watching right now, that aspires or is really interested in dungeon and adventure design, I think that was a really nice lesson. Let's see, rooms, encounters. Guys, this flew by. We've got about 15 minutes, so we can keep playing around with some encounters. And I also want to ask anyone that's around. I think next week we'll continue with this dungeon. Yeah, perfect image. Exactly, Stormblood. I totally agree. I'd fight for my life if a monkey tries to steal my coffee. Amen. Is there coffee in D&D? There can be. There totally can be. Rope swing encounter. Very, what's the video game like that class? Pitfall. I think too, very Pitfall like what we've discovered through this first session of designing this dungeon, at least for me, is that it's very inspired by the retro video games that we grew up with. And I do feel that back in the day, maybe it's just me being nostalgic and feeling fond of my youth, but lately I've kind of missed that feeling of games and stories that didn't take themselves so seriously all the time and were more lighthearted. Um, the tiny monkey with a great sword running away would make a great illustration for one of the pages. Yes, absolutely. I'm just gonna write that up here. Absolutely. Yeah, we can also, now that I'm on that thought train, my ADHD brain is going that way. We can just think of some visuals here. Like, I think the flesh-eating plants, it reminds me of that Pokemon. What is it? Not Bellsprout. I think it's the Pokemon that Bellsprout evolves into. I think we gotta have some sort of visual for Nigel, the turtle person archaeologist. Um, Victory Bell. Yes, thank you. Victory Bell is the Pokemon I was thinking of. Yeah, so we got our intro jungle floor, rope bridge encounter, rope vine swing encounter, or I'll say just vine swing encounter. Have the monkeys taken over the temple now that it's landed, or something else has, and the monkeys stole the egg off somewhere else? Either way, clear the temple of enemies. Yeah, drift speed. What I'm thinking is all the factions are trying to get into the temple, but no one has gotten into the temple yet. I think that there's a group of monkeys who have made it to the temple. So when the players get there, there will be monkeys there trying to stop them from getting in. And the players have to deceive the monkeys, scare them off, fight them off, and get into the temple itself. Or something might happen that pulls the monkeys away from the temple once the dungeon has started. The players could try to create a distraction, could try to deceive the monkeys, could try to convince them that an item that they have, like the great sword, is actually much more powerful than the egg. There's a lot of possibilities, but I like the idea of like the temple. Nobody has gotten into the temple yet, and it's like a mad race to get into the temple. And while we're wrapping up here, I think what I'm gonna do is make an H2 here for the temple room, and we can start fleshing that idea out a little bit. Bird of prey, a rock, yeah, absolutely. as kind of like a boss monster. Also, Heroes and Homebrew, like the idea of the T-Rex with like bionic arms. I do really want to incorporate that somehow. We kind of lost sight of our dino theme, but that's totally fine. I think next week I'll probably work on this a bit more over the week before the next stream, so it's more focused, and then we can really get in next week, get into the nitty gritty of the actual design. Um, and I do think we want a dino element. But yeah, so the temple room is, no one has gotten in yet. A group of monkeys are already there, but they haven't figured out a way in. If players arrive with monkeys still there, then the monkeys will try to stop them or let them figure out how to get in. You know, the monkeys might not be smart enough to get into the temple, but they're probably smart enough to understand that the adventurers are. And so maybe even they're lying in wait and they're waiting for the adventurers to open the temple, and then they like swoop down, and then that could be a great timer, right? So the players finally figure out the puzzle, the temple doors open, and then it's like, whoo, 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 and then the monkeys, you know, come swooping in, and it turns into like this mad dash to stop the monkeys. The birds swoop in, Nigel and the lizard archaeologists start running in, and then it's the minecart room that Obus was talking about. And then it just becomes this mad dash to get the egg. Once the doors are... And then, of course, depending on how the dungeon plays out, like depending on how the players navigate the dungeon, maybe one of the factions is completely taken out of the picture. Like maybe the players find a way to scare off all... Oh shit, sorry, I just smacked my mic. Maybe the players find a way to scare off the monkeys before they even get to the temple, and then they don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Or maybe the archaeologists aren't there, but once the doors are open, it becomes a mad dash to get to the egg. The big timer moment. Flying monkeys, oh yeah. What's up, Wayne? Thanks for stopping in, dude. We're about to wrap up, but thanks for flying in. Big timer moment. DK country-esque minecart race. I think that could be really fun. And then players use their items, ability checks, etc. to basically navigate this minecart race, thwart the other players and stuff, or thwart the other factions and stuff like that. And try to get there first. I really like that idea for the temple room, because also it's kind of like a fun gotcha in a wholesome way. And in my 5-room dungeon video, I talk about how you should never design gotcha moments in bad faith. So gotcha moments aren't bad, but I feel like the assumption is that the temple room is going to be like this big boss room. But once the doors open, it's like, surprise! Everyone is doing this like mad dash, and rather than fighting this giant boss encounter, it's like this Donkey Kong Country minecart race, and I think that's a fun take on it. Maybe there's more to the temple than the egg, like a wall hieroglyphic that has a spell that turns lizard folk feathers, makes them faster and aerodynamic. Yeah. Ancient cave paintings, etc. This is all stuff that we can work with. Transforms the lizard people, maybe. Although I still think we should kind of keep that to the effects of the egg. And the temple was from the future all along. Ooh. And then that's where the cybernetic T-Rex with the bionic arms comes into play. Maybe when they get to the bottom of the minecart race, the cybernetic T-Rex is like there, and he's holding the egg. So like no matter what, the T-Rex has the egg at the end, and then you have to deal with that. I think that's an amazing idea. Bionic T-Rex is holding the egg. And that's also a very like 90s rare, like Donkey Kong Country or Banjo-Kazooie boss, I think. Is holding the egg. And then that's the final encounter. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a fight. You know, it could be resolved in many ways. Like basically all the factions are trying to convince or otherwise get the egg from the dino, and ultimately the dino decides. Right? So you missed what I said, Pally, but got there yourself. Oh, my bad, dude. Go full on Cyber T-Rex's final boss, just add some wonder. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry. Like I do have to wrap up really soon actually. So we're going to leave it here for now. But I wanted to say this was amazing. The 2 hours flew by. Thank you so much for the guys who hung out in the chat. Even if you had to go early, but especially you guys who stuck around this whole time. There's so many amazing ideas. And this isn't a bad thing, but it was actually a little like overwhelming to keep up with the chat and write down. But you know, that's something that we'll get better with over time. And yeah, I do apologize. If I miss something that you write in the chat, feel free to let me know again. And I'll try to get to everyone's ideas as much as possible. And ultimately, it may be impossible to fully incorporate everyone's ideas. But I think we have an incredible foundation. JP, thank you so much for coming, man. Nelson, thank you so much for coming. I have like one of my best friends from college, one of my best D&D players ever here with JP. He's a hero, a legend. That was awesome. You guys are all welcome to come back next week. I can't wait to get this going. Drift Speed, thank you so much. And yeah, again, I really want to say, I hope you catch the full stream next time too, man. Thank you so much for coming, Stormblood. But I wanted to say real quick, please guys, if you had fun, which it seems like we did, share this with your communities, share this with your friends. I'm working on launching a Discord, which will be up by next week. And I'm also working on getting a Patreon and YouTube channel ship members going. I'm kind of nervous to say that out loud. My palms are actually sweating talking about it. But this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I really love doing. And most of all, I'm all about bringing us together, like through this hobby, and showing anybody that anyone can be a dungeon designer. Anyone can do this. And it's all about having fun. So please share, like, subscribe if you haven't already. Be on the lookout for some fun announcements. And yeah, we'll circle back next week and we'll keep working on this. I'll let everybody know and keep a look for the Discord. Anyway, thank you guys so much. And as always, venture forth.